If you're a fan of high medieval fantasy and you like your main protagonist to be a little enigmatic, a bit curious, and you like a lot of point of views, then today's book just might be for you. Today I'll be reviewing The Red Knight by Miles Cameron. Welcome to Spencer Reads Everything. I'm your host, Spencer Duncan, and today I'm looking at yet another fantasy book. This book is the first in a series of 5 books called the Traitor Son Cycle. This is, of course, incredibly important for building up the world that is going to be the premise of the rest of the Traitor Son cycle. When this book came out in 2012, it received pretty good reviews, although there are a few things that have troubled people over the years. So let's take a look at the premise of the book and also some of the things that people have struggled with or things that they find particularly appealing. Premise of the book is you have a main character who we don't know his name just yet. Presumably that's going to be a big part of the ongoing series. He is some kind of mercenary, an incredibly capable leader. So he has a whole bunch of other mercenaries under his command. They've been hired up by an abbey to defend this abbey from some evil forces. What exactly those evil forces are a little difficult to tell throughout the book. There are clearly some kind of beasts and animals, but how exactly they interact and engage with the rest of the human world is a little hard to say. Matter of fact, the whole world building of this series is it's a little strange. It has that same medieval paradigm that's common to most books of this series, but it goes a step further. It even has Christianity. It has a lot of discussions that at times seems like it is straight up from a history fiction and not actually a fantasy. But there are certainly elements of magic, although those are also a little unclear throughout this series. But the thing that this book has really been popular with is people that love descriptions of battle scenes because there's a lot of them and they're all throughout this book. So trying to explain the plot, it's a little complicated. I think the most important thing you need to know from the get-go is that there's a lot of different point of views. Some of them are more important than others. Some point of view characters, you only get a few storylines from them. Some, I think you only get 1 or 2 references and then that's it. And then you have a couple main people that you definitely need to know about. The main one being the people in the abbey that are being protected, the Red Knight himself, which, like I said, we don't actually know his name. And then some of the people that he works with are people to know. But again, not everyone gets equal treatment in this book, and that is one of the things that can make it a little harder to follow. Even though there are the characters within the Abbey that you need to worry about, because, like I said, they're the focus of the story, you do at times go to other parts of whatever this mythical world is. Again, the boundaries of it aren't entirely clear. Sometimes you're dealing with other human point of view characters that are related to the larger kingdom in which this Red Knight is working and trying to protect, and then at times you are actually dealing with whoever the bad guys are, the beasts, the monsters. And again, one of the things that's actually a little more ambiguous about the whole series is who exactly the bad guys are, what their nature is, and how exactly they're interacting with the rest of the human species. It appears to be that their land has been encroached upon, and so they feel as though they are just retaking land that was once theirs. That's a little unclear, and that is definitely something that is constantly trying to be sorted out throughout the series. This book is really complex. It's hard to give a simple synopsis. As you've noticed, I can only give you a few sentences before I feel like I'm trying to build a web here that I don't think most people would understand. And quite honestly, most other reviews that I've looked at don't really try to give a whole lot more detail in the review for that very reason, because it's just a little too complicated and you have to read it. That is going to be a two-edged sword. Most people are going to absolutely love that complicated nature of this series, and so it's going to be a thing that draws them in. Some people will be a little frustrated that they feel like they constantly need to be reminded of what's happening in each scene, especially since you switch from point of view characters so frequently, and you really don't know who is going to ultimately be an important character and who's going to be someone that just dies in the next battle. Another thing that I've already mentioned is going to be the battle scenes. People love these battle scenes. Some people think that they are the best battle scenes that have ever been written. The problem is not everyone actually loves battle scenes. And so I do think this is going to be a big plus for most people, especially people that read fantasy. But if you are one of those people that the battle scenes don't need to take up a significant portion of the book for you, then this is going to be one of those things that you probably can maybe skim through the battle scenes, or maybe just not read the battle scenes, or maybe the whole book isn't exactly for you. That's up for you to decide. I will say one of the greatest strengths is the character development. Even though there's so many characters and you don't know who's the most important, I do think the ones that we tend to focus in on, the Red Knight, the Abbess who he seems to have some kind of interesting relationship with, All of them are going to be well written, and the dialogues that they have is going to be the thing that really shines through. I would also say that even the characters that aren't clearly the most important individuals in his military or in the court life or in any other scene that they depict, there's definitely an element that underlings and less important people do play an important contributing role into this series. And so those are the point of views that you'll probably get the most attached to, at least for me. I was most attached to those ones. However, those are also going to be the most expendable ones for obvious reasons. And that can be one thing that can be a little complicated in trying to determine who you feel is most important to keep track of and who you should really get attached to. The world building is interesting. I've already said it's not just based on medieval Europe, which is a common paradigm. Whatever, that's life. It is even more entrenched in medieval European religion, medieval European societal structure. Obviously, the fact that there's a knight seems to be something that is frequently reflected in almost any medieval literature. Another thing that might put people off of this book is the sheer length of it. It is a long one. And for that reason, if you can't handle all the different point of views and you're not particularly interested in the rest of the series, which is also equally long books, if not even longer, it might be something that either distracts you or discourages you from going through the whole series. It is a lengthy series. I'm not entirely sure what the page count of all 5 books are. Also, there are a few other novellas that go along with it, but we're talking in the thousands and thousands of pages by the time that this series is over. Ironically, the length of this book and the complexity make it kind of hard to do an in-depth video without doing a really in-depth video. So I'm just going to cut to the chase in who I think would like this book and who I think may not like this book all that much. Like I've said, people that like battle scenes, they're going to love this book. They're incredibly well written, and that's going to be the thing that a lot of people are going to be drawn to. If you like a lot of point of views and you do not care how important each of those point of views is, you will also like this book. Also, like I said, it not only has a high medieval paradigm, just like a lot of fantasy books, it's really the center of this. As a matter of fact, at times I feel like they're going to start talking about famous world events that actually happened. And so I think that this is something that could be really appealing to some people, and then to some people that actually prefer a little more purity in their sense of fantasy may not love that. So who wouldn't I recommend this for? Like I said, people that aren't interested in investing this much time in what is a large series and an overly complicated series. Also, if you think that you need your magic system explained to you quickly and early, this also may not be the book for you, because that's one of the things that's just never clearly explained in this book. But hey, I am open to all sorts of opinions when it comes to the Red Knight. I would love to hear what other people have to say. Of course, let me know in the comments whether you liked this or if you've read other stuff by Miles Cameron and you would recommend other stuff by him. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification button, and until next time, keep those pages turning.